Hello, good morning, everyone. Jessica Miller here. Make sure I'm in the right spot. I am in the right spot. Okay. Sorry this took so long for me to get up. I want to talk about my second blog post, which was the no drive defense. I put that up on my blog last week, but I didn't get a chance to do a live video on it, and it's mostly because I can't figure out a time that works great for me to go live. So I think it's going to either be in the morning or at night. So you'll have to just bear with me, and hopefully, if you're watching this and you're interested in it, you can just catch it on the replay. So. My second blog post is on what we call the no drive defense. This was my second jury trial ever. This was a while ago. And it was a pretty straightforward DUI case. DUIs are a great place for new prosecutors to cut their teeth on trials because there's a formula. Well, I'll call it a formula. They tend to have a lot of the same elements in them all the time. And so you can really develop a really concrete knowledge base on how to go through all of the stages of a jury trial, particularly a DUI, in the DUI assignment. This particular case, there was a high BAC. The defendant, what had happened is his vehicle was found, clearly had been in a collision in the middle of the road. Early in the morning, the officer happened upon it during his routine patrol. He found the defendant hiding about 30 feet away behind a hill, and he was really drunk. He was more than twice the legal limit, and the vehicle showed it was missing a tire. It had been driven on 3 tires until it could no longer go any farther. It had damage to the driver's side of the vehicle, and using like the grind mark that the lack of the tire had caused in the road, the officer determined that the vehicle had actually gone across the double yellow line, hit a guardrail, come back, and had been driven until it could no longer drive. Pretty straightforward, right? No. Oh, and the defendant was on probation for DUI at the time and had terms that said no drinking and driving, period, like no measurable amount of alcohol in your system, which is important. We have a .08 is the legal limit that you cannot drive anymore, but this guy was not allowed to drive at all with alcohol. So we start the trial and things are going along fine. We're going through the rhythm of a DUI trial, which is going through the officer, their observations, the field sobriety tests. And then it gets to defendant's case in chief, and we learn that the defendant is going to testify, which doesn't happen all that often. And we learn that the defendant is on the stand. We learn that he claims someone else was driving at the time. And conveniently, I'll say conveniently because this one still stings. Conveniently, the person that the defendant claimed was driving had died about a month after we filed the case. And so mid-trial, my office is like pounding sand trying to figure out whether or not this is the truth. We went to the bar where the defendant was, and we had witnesses who put him coming to the bar in the vehicle, but no one actually saw him leave alone in the vehicle. We looked at the positioning of the car's driver's side seat to see if there was anything unique about it that we could place the defendant in the driver's seat as opposed to someone else. And unfortunately, the defendant and the dead person were approximately the same size, so that didn't really help. And so that's what we were stuck with, and it was what we call a hung jury. We had, and it wasn't a good hang. It was 11 for not guilty and 1 for guilty, which is understandable, right? Like as a prosecutor, I have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant committed the crime. And here we have defendant taking the stand, claiming someone else was driving, and I had no way to overcome that at all. So what I learned most about this, though, was the importance of talking to the jury afterwards when a jury trial doesn't end up with a guilty. We routinely, if you've ever served on a jury, we'll see if it goes into a hang or a not guilty, you'll see prosecutors immediately go out or call a couple of days later, depending on the length of the case, to talk to our jurors to find out what didn't work, what they wanted to know. Is there evidence that we could present in a different trial that would have changed their mind? We do that because we have to decide whether we're going to spend judicial resources and public resources on a retrial. So we did that in this case, and there wasn't anything based on the jurors' view that we could have done differently, other than to bring a witness in that said, no, dead guy was actually somewhere else, or dead, or someone saw the defendant driving at the time, and we just didn't have that. And so ultimately, we elected not to proceed with the case a second time, which happens every once in a while. And I learned a lot this second trial with a hang and having to go through the process and the evaluation of a case to determine whether or not we should try it again. And I learned that sometimes justice is served by not proceeding on a case when the outcome isn't going to change. And that's a public resource decision. And so that is my second trial. The no drive defense is what we call it, and it was successful. I also got to go up against a really experienced criminal law attorney, and so it was one of those cases where I got to learn just by watching my opposing counsel work as well. As a trial lawyer, you routinely pick up tips and tricks just by watching other attorneys in court. And that goes for prosecutors and defense attorneys. We watch each other all the time. We learn each other's tricks. And this was a fun one for me because it was an attorney that I had been watching since I was in law school. So that is it. That's my no drive defense. I'm going to try to get these videos up a little bit quicker. I had a goal to try and get them done all before the end of the year. And at this rate, I'm not going to make it. So hopefully I'll have another one this week. If there's something in particular you want me to talk about, or you're interested in a particular area of criminal law, let me know and I will do my best to try to cover it if I can. Otherwise, have a great day, guys, and I will see you all soon. Bye.